Is this new part of the Workers' Rights Bill, which apparently gives workers the right to complain to the boss about being offended if they're sort of front-facing in a business like hospitality, where they might be serving behind a bar, they hear you and I having a conversation which they don't like, suddenly, they get to complain to their employer and might be able to get compensation for being offended.
Here's Toby Young and Mike Graham discussing one of their favourite topics, the attack on free speech. This time it's the Workers' Rights Bill that's got them all riled up.
No, that I think is this government, I think, has done some shocking things to attack free speech. But this, I think, is by far the worst. This is really horrendous. This will effectively be turbocharging the Equality Act.
Now, I've looked through the Workers' Rights Bill and I think that they're referring to the section harassment by third parties, whereby an employer must ensure that they take steps to stop harassment of their employees from third parties. So that's sexual harassment or harassment because of how you might look, which I think is a reasonable request. But let's listen to how these two bend it out of shape so that they can attack it with such anger.
And that chilling effect that the Equality Act has had on workplaces up and down the country, meaning that you have to look over your shoulder before you speak, lower your voice to make sure you're not overheard, undergo these pointless box-ticking diversity training exercises constantly, that will now be extended to leisure spaces, to pubs and bars and restaurants.
Now, there are probably examples of people taking unreasonable offence at some petty comment and blowing it up into exaggerated significance. But equally, I have to question what is going on with Toby Young that he's chosen this particular cause to champion. I mean, he's given plenty of space to air his views. Is it that he doesn't get as much airtime on the mainstream media channels anymore and believes that he's being silenced? Perhaps he hasn't come to terms with the fact that he's a right-wing arsehole and not everybody wants to hear his point of view. Anyway, let's hear an example of the type of rubbish he believes or wants you to believe that will come about because of this bill.
I'll give you an example of what this new clause could mean, Mike. So because employers will now be under the same obligation they are to protect their employees from overhearing upsetting conversations between other employees, as you say, that obligation will now be extended to preventing their workers overhearing things likely to upset them by members of the public. Yeah. So, for instance, if a partially sighted steward at a football game overhears a fan saying to a referee, "Are you blind?" Yeah. That steward could sue the football club for not taking all reasonable steps to protect him from being harassed by having to overhear comments which are likely to make him upset because of his protected characteristic, his partial sightedness.
Click here for Mike Graham cutting off a guest.